What do flamenco artists and airplane pilots have in common? Hi, this is Guillermo for FlamencoMAPS. Welcome to my channel. I would like to talk today about a really fundamental, essential piece of the flamenco puzzle, los compases de espera, literally the waiting bars or the waiting compases. When we perform a toque, a cante or a baile, we perform one after the other structural blocks of toque, cante and baile, like salidas, falsetas, variations, letras, coletillas, escobillas, remates, I said letras already, more letras. So we always focus on these elements because they are the most important, but I'm sure that you've noticed that they don't necessarily follow each other in a constant flow. Very often they alternate with short sections of just compass of variable length, kind of suspended rhythmic loops where nothing much happens, like loose compasses before continuing. And they are very important because they are everywhere all the time. They are part of the traditional structures. They are essential for the flamenco communication and improvisation game. They are very convenient and functional. We can use them for many different purposes. And like everything else in flamenco, they are modular. You can add or remove them as you wish or as needed. And they also have their expressive, emotional, artistic role to play. In general, and especially in an improvised, open, let's say traditional flamenco context, these compasses connect two elements with a space, with a break. They are somehow the default mode in between each structural element. They are everywhere, like between a letra and a falseta, compás. Between a falseta and a letra, compás.
En el barrio del balón.
Between a remate and a letra, compás. Between two falsetas, compás. Between two letras, compás.
Y haremos, ay, conte conmigo y haremos una chocita en el campo y en ella nos meteremos. Una chocita en el campo y en ella nos meteremos. A ti te los ojos negros, los de la gris de mañana, y tú que negro lo tienes, que échate un pelo a la cara.
And in fact, just between everything. Even things where usually we don't leave compasses in between, like a letra and a coletilla, sometimes you can find compás.
De qué regimiento eres y que de Navarro soy su bebé yo.
variation, there is something called holding patterns, and it's a very interesting idea that helps us understand how the Compases de Espera work. A holding pattern is the flight path maintained by an aircraft. Basically, it means going around in circles in the sky, awaiting permission to land. And what is important here is the wait. We are waiting for something, an event, a decision, a step in a certain direction, a cue, a sign. For us, it means waiting for one of the members of the cuadro or ourselves to initiate something. The singer to start singing a letra, the guitarist to start playing a falseta, the dancer to start a llamada or an escobilla, or anything else to begin. In holding patterns, the aircraft is in waiting mode, but it still has to keep flying, right? Same thing with the compás. When we are in Compases de Espera, in holding compasses, you can't stop. You have to keep playing or dancing. And for this, you just go around in circle, doing simple loops corresponding to the type of compás you are in. If you are parmero or percussionist, you play rhythmic loops, patterns. You do what we call just play compás. If you are a guitarist, you also play compás or variations with rhythmic and harmonic loops. If you are a singer, you can't play compás with a cante. So at that moment, you either become a palmero or just do nothing. And if you are a dancer, you can do marcajes, marking steps, just marking the accents of the compás. But you also have this underrated great option. Do nothing, but with attitude. It's also dancing, right? But the compás is still alive internally and the musicians behind you are holding it. But why do we need them? Couldn't we just go from one to another without leaving that space in between? Yes, sometimes you just go from one element to another without compás de espera. Like here, Moraito goes straight from a cierre to the next falseta. Or here, José Anillo starts the letra right after the cierre, the closing of the llamada de Rosario Toledo. So you can decide to do everything without ever leaving a breath. It is not mandatory to insert compases de espera after each section. They are optional, you use them when you want or need. But you know that in flamenco we are constantly playing with the dynamics of tension resolution. I talk about this all the time. Often after a strong cierre, a closing, we are still in a very high level of energy. and there everyone needs to breathe. So one or a few compases de espera here allow you to calm down, to concentrate, to refocus, to gather energy for the next round. They mark a transition, a breath. Music needs to breathe. And not only the music, the artist on stage too, and the audience as well. We take a deep breath and we can move on. Leaving one or more compasses or not after a strong release of the tension can be a conscious artistic choice since it dramatically changes the expressiveness of the moment. After a cierre, you can perfectly maintain a high level of energy if it is what you want. You are free, no obligation. The use of compases de espera can also be part of the personality of an artist. Manuela Carrasco Porsolea, she leaves compases de espera every time she has an opportunity, practically after each element, after each letra, each falseta, each cierre. Why? Just because she likes it this way, I guess. She likes this dynamic of waiting, building up the tension, release of the tension. Waiting, building up the tension, release of the tension. Waiting. Waiting compasses are, like everything else in flamenco, modular. It's like playing with Lego. Imagine that one Lego corresponds to one harmonic and rhythmic cycle, like one compás. Playing compás do compases de espera just means perform one Lego after the other as long as needed. If your baile, toque or cante is completely pre-organized, if it's what we call a montaje, then you can decide beforehand exactly the number of compases de espera that you want to leave in between each section. But in a more traditional improvised context, there is no specific number of compases. You can use as many as you want and decide in the moment. And this is why we use short units, just one loop, one compass, or one cycle at a time. First, because they are not the most interesting parts, they are the connecting parts. The main course are the falsetas, the letras, the escobillas, the remates. And also because it allows us to be very reactive. We can move on to a new element at any time, at the end of any loop. Another option halfway between the old improvisation and the all choreographed, all montaje is when you mount and rehearse all the structural elements, the falsetas, the letras, the steps, but always with the possibility of leaving the structure breathe with possible moments of compases de espera, holding patterns which will be improvised depending on the situation. So one thing that you can stop doing right now, counting the compases de espera. In improvisation mode, you would never count the compases. Why? Just because it makes no sense. You don't need to count them. Once you've started waiting, you don't know how long will the wait be. You don't know how many compases will pass before moving on. And not having to count the compases has lots of advantages. In many ways, it's like meditation. You can free up your memory. You don't have to remember that after the salida del baile, there are two compases, and after the letra number 1, there is only one compás. And then when you leave compasses, you don't have to remember, oh, was it the first compás, the second compás? I don't know, I don't remember. No, you are just at peace, waiting, in acceptance mode. Whatever happens will be okay. They literally help us take a break, relax, and focus. Breathe, come to your senses, attend your body, and be attentive to what's happening around you. You free up your mental bandwidth so you can really be in the perception. Watch and listen to the others, pay attention, share, interact, be playful, have fun, enjoy the moment. In general, you don't want to wait too long between one element and another, so as not to let the whole thing cool down too much. We saw first that sometimes there is no wait at all, sometimes the wait is short.
Siente camelo.
And sometimes the wait is long.
Tiene los dientes, ya y tiene los dientes, que son granitos, ya y da rocolete.
Me estás poniendo que de mi carne me estoy comiendo.
¿Qué? La hechura. Pone la hechura. Dale.
Y esta noche.
But there are no rules. Once again, it's not the what that is important, but the how. You can play one single compass boring to death or play 42 compasses full of life. Attention here, holding the compass does not mean play loops like a looper, always the same thing, exactly the same way. In flamenco, we like to do variations of everything all the time. It goes in circle, but it has to be alive. Always the same thing, but never the same thing. But still, it's just compass. See here how Tomatito shows creativity and reactivity to feed the moment. He's not playing always the same loop. He's playing many variations. But his attitude is that he's waiting for Camarón to start singing. Now you understand that the Compases de Espera connect the different structure elements, that you can decide to leave some or not. And if you decide to leave some, you can decide how many you want to leave. Compases de Espera are also very useful for adapting to the moment, to unforeseen circumstances on stage. For example, one thing that happened to me recently. We had rehearsed a baile with a dancer and a singer, a montaje. After a specific cierre, we had decided to leave a pair of Compases de Espera before the next element. I don't remember if it was a letra or whatever. But then on stage, when we performed that cierre, the public reacted very generously and they started to applaud very loudly. It was so loud that it was just impossible to continue. We could not even hear ourselves. So the two compasses that we decided during the rehearsal weren't sufficient at all. We needed more time till the applause and the energy came down. So what did we do? We just looked at each other and we left a few more compasses. In improvisation mode, it's also a way to think about what you are going to do next. For example, there are many singers who don't plan beforehand how many letras and which styles they will sing in a cante. Remember, a cante is not a song. They have a whole bunch of styles to choose from and they will just choose in the moment, depending on the energy, the inspiration, and also depending on the memory. Sometimes nothing comes to your mind spontaneously and you just need to think. And in the event of a memory lapse during a montaje, it's always good to have this option of leaving a few compases de espera and take your time to remember what you are supposed to do. But if you don't count the compasses, when you are in waiting mode, in holding patterns, the questions are how to get out of the loop, who decides what we'll do next, and when do we move on. The waiting compasses here are very interesting playground. Sometimes you don't know who is going to do what. Everyone look at each other and sometimes what will come next will be up to whoever makes a decision first. Like I'm throwing a falseta now or a letra here. because the structure allows it here and because I saw an opening. Here we enter the complex interactions between all the members of the cuadro. There is no quick and simple answer because there is no quick and simple rule. But one way of seeing things is that there are only two situations in which you can find yourself at a precise moment. Either you make a decision and the other will follow you, or someone else makes a decision and you have to follow them. I can't go into details here, this video is long enough already. We'll talk about that in other episodes, but never forget that flamenco is a conversation between all the participants. You have to master the language and then be present, attentive, respectful, know how to listen, follow, respond, and also how to take the lead. I'm sure that by now you understand better how all these things work, how the Compases de Espera helps the smooth development of a structure, of a baile, a toque, or a cante. And I'm sure that now, after watching this video, you'll just see them everywhere because they are everywhere. They are a fundamental piece of the flamenco puzzle. Remember, they are not mandatory and you can use as many as you want or as you need. And rather than counting them, it's just better to leave them. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped. If it helped, you can also help me by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, leave a comment. Please also consider supporting my work on Patreon. I leave the link in the description. And as always, go and visit FlamencoMAPS.com where I explain my online classes, courses, and my way of teaching flamenco. I see you there. Till then, don't forget, play Compases de Espera.